to the Space Show. I'm your host, Ensign Rebecca Frost, joined by Admiral Kerry Jackson, and we're talking more Star Trek. I hope you guys are ready.
Classic series.
Classic original flavor. This episode, we're going to be talking about the following episodes from Season 1, Return of the Archons, Space Seed, A Taste of Armageddon, This Side of Paradise, and The Devil in the Dark. This is a string of really cool episodes and some wackadoo ones.
I kind of like them all.
Yeah.
To me, we're in a good run here in the first season. You know, the last 5 that we did, and then these.
Yeah, this first episode, The Return of the Archons,
Yes.
Seeking the answer to a century-old mystery, Kirk and the crew encounter a vacantly peaceful society under a 6,000-year autocratic rule that kills all those it can't absorb. This one, the way I have titled this one as to help me remember which one it is, it's the one where they go to the Purge planet.
Purge planet.
Yeah, because
Here we go.
When you're not of the body.
They get to this planet and a very peaceful. I had a minor complaint about this episode, which was,
of course,
because they are reusing sets. Of course, the costumes that they are wearing does not match the exterior of the buildings.
Yeah, the building is again, it's that backlot where they did, the Andy Griffith show and all of that stuff. But the costumes are definitely what era would you label
So
them?
they've got like these 1800, like late 1800 style clothing, and the pavement that they are on.
Yeah, paved streets, but no cars. Yeah,
just regular sidewalks as we know them today.
And attack the body.
For whatever reason, that just took me right out of it.
I'm sorry.
This episode also talks a lot about the dangers of AI. Another timely. These episodes are just all very timely, and they're the is it the Archons that are doing the absorbing?
Well, let me find out here.
You have heard the word and disobeyed. You will be absorbed.
Oh, the man's name is, they've said it
Landru.
80,000. Landru.
You will be absorbed.
They said it 80,000 times.
Is all. Landru is gentle.
Yeah, the whole purpose of this planet is be good or else. And he's absorbing people into this like positive way of living.
It's a theme that will reoccur throughout the show. Basically, because science fiction at the time was it was kill your gods is basically at the time. There I go.
Yeah.
It's kill your gods, and so they come to a planet and there's this god, and say what you will. They seem okay with it. I would have a problem with it right away, especially when the Red Hour is approaching, and the festival, which
Purge night, and they're all talking about the festival. And Kirk's like, "Oh, we're good. We're gonna pass." And the one guy's like, "You're gonna skip Purge night."
Right? I thought that's why you were here, was for the festival.
Oh God. Yeah, and then it turns out it's a computer, and the computer can't handle like any conflict or objectivity. It's just not part of like the process. Yeah. Again, I'm a woman. I didn't quite get it.
Well, it's like any religion, really. You follow the rules or be cast out.
Well, and some really good some stuff where they go to destroy the big gods, and one of the guys is like, "Oh, actually, never mind. I don't want this. I'm good. This is fine." And that's a very human and normal reaction, I think. We're like, "Oh no, you know what? Honestly, things are good, and we don't have to mess with that. That's okay." And Kirk's like, "No, y'all."
It's very much a human emotion, fearing change.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the festival for a minute, shall we? I couldn't quite tell what the purpose of the festival was, other than to, I don't know, was there, you're destroying the place you live.
Yeah.
And apparently it goes from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m.
Yeah.
If I understood that correctly.
Because I'm just going to go by purge rules, right? Because like society does great, right? But we're animals and we've got violent tendencies. And so we just need like one day, one night to get all of that out of our system, to get all of our jimmies out. And then they're like, okay, now back to normal.
Here's the thing, is that the people know what the purge is, or the festival is, but that guy sent his daughter out into it.
Yeah.
And and she comes back, she's probably been assaulted, I mean, and it's just like, well, I'm sorry, that's just the festival, you'll have to.
That's just the festival. Oh, God,
and
gross.
And me standing in Kirk's shoes, I'm like, yeah, this has got to go. This is bad. I don't care if it is your God. This is bad.
Yeah. This episode, it was not one of my favorites. Like we mentioned in the last episode, Ben Stiller named his production company Red Hour after this episode. And another fun piece of trivia I found, all of the regulars on the show were quitting smoking at the same time, so many chewed gum instead. Director Joseph Pevney was becoming increasingly upset because he had to cut to remind the cast not to chew gum during the shoots. As a prank for a large scene, William Shatner went around handing out bubblegum to the cast, crew, and around 60 to 80 extras, and had everyone blow a bubble right after the director hollered action. Sid Haig reported the director almost passed out.
You attack the body.
I would have died. I would have... I can handle a good prank, but if I was stressed about making a Star Trek show and everybody did this at once, I would do a purge. Do my own purge.
But this is, like I said, this is a theme that will reoccur in episodes down the road.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about this episode anymore. But I do want to talk about Space Seed, another cornerstone episode.
Oh, please.
While on patrol in deep space, Captain Kirk and his crew find and revive a genetically engineered world conqueror and his compatriots from Earth's 20th century. Now, I learned a lot from this episode about the eugenics wars of the 90s. I don't remember anything about those wars, but again, I was very young.
Exactly.
And I knew Khan. This is also the episode that introduces Khan, Ricardo Montalban. I love him.
Yes.
He's great in this.
I hope you paid attention to all the eugenics war stuff, because that's coming back in Strange New Worlds with our character who is
Una.
Related to Khan somehow.
Or in-law.
Yeah.
Carrie, I'm telling you, today's Strange New Worlds. I know we're banking these episodes, so I'm talking about episode 2 of season 2 of Strange New Worlds a lot. But I learned so much within the last couple of days about the eugenics wars in Khan.
There's a series of books, like 3 of them, I think, that were written that take place just before the eugenics wars, during the eugenics wars, and then the time that Khan, because they drop him off on the planet at the end. Then there's a book that is just...
Huge mistake, by the way.
Yeah. Then there's a book that's just him on the planet that leads up to the beginning of Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan.
This episode, it brings me a lot of joy.
Have you seen Wrath of Khan? You've seen Wrath of Khan, right?
No.
Oh, now you gotta.
Well, I know it's on the list. Spock has a line. Spock and Kirk have an interaction at the beginning of this episode where Spock says, like, "Why does it make you happy to prove me wrong?" And Kirk says, "It's an emotional Earth weakness, I guess," which I love that level of self-realization. That's very smart and emotionally intelligent.
Now, this is a fine episode, I think.
It's so good. The introduction of the eugenics wars that took place during the 90s, the last of your world wars. Fascinating. So they get on this ship and wake up the leader, Khan, and bring him back to the Enterprise. And McCoy is doing an evaluation on him. And Khan wakes up and grabs a knife or something, something sharp, and holds it up to, he grabs McCoy by the neck and also holds the knife up to his neck. And McCoy, again, waiting for the sweet release of death, says, well, either choke me or slit my throat, make up your mind. That's just solidified for me, like, Kirk has an absolute death wish. And not only, or McCoy has an absolute death wish, and not only that, but he's telling him specifically where to cut him if he so chooses to.
That's McCoy's way of saying, I'm not afraid.
I'm not afraid of you, man.
I'm not afraid.
Khan woos one of the ensigns or somebody on the ship, a woman with his incredible good looks.
She's a historian, and so, she's brought in because this is the kind of guy that she studied, and so naturally she's going to fall in love with him. Well, it's because it's young Montalban. I mean, let's be real.
Yeah, who gets so many amazing costume changes, by the way. And Khan is dead set on taking over the universe. He wakes up the rest of his crew that's on this ship and says, we just wanted a planet, but now how do you guys feel about a whole fucking universe? And
we have a universe to conquer.
And they're like, okay. I love the big combat during this episode because they are using that set. Kirk is pushing off of it, jumping up on it, pushing each other against it. It's a very fun wrestling episode.
It's a fun episode, and it's as you watch it, you go, oh boy, the people who made Wrath of Khan, they're like, yeah, this is what we do. We need a good bad guy. This is the guy. Let's get him back. And let's let him chew the scenery with Shatner, because that's what they're both doing is just, they're trying to out each other.
Yeah.
And, it's just such a fine little episode that you thought that was it, And he manages to conquer Khan at the end, and they drop him off on the planet. And you think, that's it. And he even says at the end of the episode, it'll be fascinating, Spock, to come back and a few years to see what kind of world has been built,
So I know what happens in Wrath of Khan. I made a little, the Always Sunny in Philadelphia title card that drops after their cold open. I took that line. Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens with the space seed, and then cut to that title card. Khan kills Spock. Oops! Spoiler alert. But I also really like that they're like, hey, McGivers, do you just want to go with this guy? And she's like, yes, please.
Yes, he's hot.
You can either face a court-martial or you can go with these eugenics lovers. And she's like, I'll go with the eugenics lovers, please.
Because she did wind up helping them. The little, the annoying fan, he has a problem with Wrath of Khan and this episode because, as you can clearly see, Chekhov is not in this episode. But at the beginning of Wrath of Khan knows who Chekhov is by name. Ooh. And I'm like, shut up. Just
get over it.
They're putting bugs in their ears. Come on. It's,
Yeah, get over it. A couple of bits of trivia for this episode. The automated signal that the SS Botany Bay sends, CQ, is an actual Morse code shorthand for seek you, or please answer anyone that can hear this. And, also, the main cast were enthusiastic about working with Ricardo Montalban. DeForest Kelley later said, I enjoyed working with Ricardo the best. I was privileged. He was a marvelous actor.
There's the signal. Anyway.
Our next episode, A Taste of Armageddon. Kirk and Spock must save their ship's crew when they are declared all killed in action in a bizarre computer-simulated war where actual deaths must nevertheless occur. I super hated this episode, the Ender's Game episode of it all. Because these two societies are fighting this war virtually over computers. And so they'll get a hit and they'll be like, oh, this section was hit. And all of the people in that area go to like suicide booths and kill themselves.
Well, it's very efficient because you don't have, the destruction, the disease, all of the bad things of war. Yeah, you're losing people, but, they go right into the booths and get disintegrated and everything's fine,
And the people are just okay with it.
Well, they've done it for 500 years. They don't know anything different.
That's insane to me. And so
Exactly.
the whole, it's insane to the crew too. So the whole purpose of this episode is stop this. And they destroy all the suicide booths.
Yep. Now, once again, it's violation of the Prime Directive.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times in these past episodes have we seen this? Return of the Archons is one,
Yeah. I did
Prime
have a moment.
Directive, yeah.
I had a moment of, should they be interfering with this, or is this? Oh, yeah. One of my notes is, what a woke war, because it's not even in person.
Woke War, the Woke War episode. I like that.
In this episode, James Doohan described Gene Lyons, who played the ambassador Robert Fox, as being out of his element and completely discombobulated during filming. He added that it took Lyons many takes to get his lines right, and that they finally went to having him speak off screen. And it is speculated that since Lyons was an experienced actor, he was probably thrown off by the science fiction element of it all, as this type of show is extremely rare. So...
Well, but a good actor would be able to
figure it out.
I mean, I keep hearing complaints about, actors who say, I don't like working with a green screen. I need to be reacting with somebody. And I'm like, no, a good actor doesn't need another actor. You ever hear of a one-man show? He doesn't have anybody that he's reacting to. And have you ever seen a black box theater production? There's no sets or anything.
Yeah.
So don't give me this I can't act to a green screen thing. If you're a true actor, you can. And a true actor can take the sci-fi elements, remove them from his head, and relate it to, oh, this is an analogy for the Vietnam War. Oh, okay.
That's another element to this episode. The computer tallies of the war dead in this episode was a statement about Vietnam War deaths that began to be registered on nightly newscasts in 1967. So, interesting way to make a statement about the Vietnam War.
Because the boys would be sent off to somewhere, and then they were gone.
Yeah.
There was no mess on our end. There was no cleanup on our end. But our people were gone, So you'd think a good actor would be able to figure that out and put it in that mind frame. But
I guess not. Yeah, this episode, I don't know. I didn't have much to think about it, because destroy the suicide booths and I do like that it ends way worse than it started, where they're like, you have real war now, figure it out. And and that is the thing that causes both societies to be like, okay, we're in negotiations to end all this and we're going to be good now.
Which is how it should be. I mean, we should all realize the horrors of war and realize that we don't want to go through that.
Yeah.
And figure it out,
No more Ender's Game video game wars. The next episode, This Side of Paradise, the Enterprise investigates a planet whose colonists should be dead but are not. I call this episode the Little House on the Prairie episode.
I call it Saucy Spock episode.
Saucy Spock. Let's talk about it. I love this for Leonard Nimoy. I love that they have given him a chance to be like emotive and more human than what he's been doing. I am also personally a big F. Scott Fitzgerald fan, so I love the reference to his first book in this title.
Oh, there you go.
They have nothing in common, but
no, they'll do that with Star Trek. They'll pull a Shakespeare line and put it, But this one is there's a colony of farmers who haven't been checked on in a while. We need to get them out of there because there's this strange radiation on the planet that will kill them.
Well, it's also presumed that they are dead because they haven't been getting any readings, nothing from this from this mission that was sent out 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And so they go to investigate and find them all on this cute little farm, and they're just growing their little plants on this planet where anything can grow. And the one woman that we talk to is always lit so ethereally and Vaseline on the lens. And Spock has to be like, man, humans are so weird sometimes because of the way that they're acting. And then she takes him to the big villain of this episode, which are the spore plants. And Spock gets spored and gets I thought it was gross because this is not the Spock I know. Like the Spock I know is not this lovey-dovey. And
Well, the spores spread throughout his body, and what they do is they protect him from the radiation, but they also make him kind of like he's high.
yeah, again, it's
and
another
that's
one of those
what- well-
scenarios where like, would you really want to change? Kind of like the Taste of or the Return of the Archons, where like, is it so bad though?
Well, what happened? The spores tap into his human half, and that's the Vulcan half completely suppressed. Tap into the human half takes over, and he even says, "I can love you.
Yeah.
I can feel. I can do these things." And he's just like he's actually kind of excited,
And
which is not the original series Spock that we have had so far.
No.
But it's the original series. It's the Spock that we have in the J.J. Abrams universe, in the Kelvin universe.
Yeah.
He's constantly at war with his human and Vulcan side, and he realizes that he's both, and he's allowed to have both, and so he's able to have a relationship with Uhura. Anyway.
Well, and this woman on this planet, they know each other from school, I think, and
from the academy or something like that.
And she was like, I wanted you then, but you have no heart. And she's got these like Shakespearean lines, and Spock again, I'm sure is like, why are you humans so weird about this? I love this for Leonard Nimoy, though. I really, really like that they gave him something to do where he can be flippant and sassy and emotional. Like, that was very fun and disturbing to see.
Mm-hmm. I love the exchange, with Kirk is trying to reach him on the communicator, and they're just, they're laughing and playing
Necking.
and kissing and all that stuff, and he says, trace the communicator. Well, we'll find out where he is. And so they trace the communicator and they walk up there, and there's Spock hanging from a tree.
Yeah, like a monkey.
And he says, Spock, oh, hello, Jim. Just, how you doing? He says, why didn't you answer the communicator? I didn't want to.
Like, what is happening? And the spores get to everybody. Kirk somehow manages to avoid it for the majority of the time.
Mm-hmm. Everybody on the ship beams down to live there.
Yeah, and
get spored.
We get Southern McCoy, who extremely Southern McCoy.
I'm gonna make a mint julep. Oh.
His accent comes out of nowhere. Kirk is on the ship when everybody starts beaming down, and Kirk is like, "This is a mutiny," and the guy says, "Yep," and just
so.
goes about his business. There's also a moment where Kirk is sitting on the bridge, and one of the plants sneaks up from out of frame and gets him. But
and then he goes, I understand. I get it now.
Yeah.
And he calls Spock and he goes, I've joined you. I understand. I got to get some stuff and I'll beam down.
And then we figure out, the way to get over this is extreme anger.
Well, he's walking around. He packs up his medals, and all this stuff, and he's being kind of nostalgic. And then he realizes, no, this is bullshit. Mm-hmm. And that's when he gets angry and realizes the spores are gone. Oh, so now I've got to pick a fight with everybody on the planet.
So he gets Spock to beam up, and he's like, "You're a computer man," and Spock's like, "I'm not. Stop it!" And he's like, "You computer man, you big computer man." Like, that's like the only insult he can hurl at him. And Spock was like, "Stop calling me a computer."
Well, he really gets personal into his whole, calls him half-breed.
Yeah.
And he goes, that may be accurate, but I'm not going to sit here and listen to this. And then he says, you're a computer, you're a freak, you belong in a circus sideshow right next to the dog-faced boy. And then he insults, he says, how could she love you, a freak like you?
Yeah.
And that's what sets him off.
Well, and Kirk is hesitant to do this too, because they establish in this episode Vulcans are strong.
Yes, Vulcans are stronger than humans. And he says, he's liable to kill me. And then Spock figures out, once the spores are gone, he goes, "Oh, you did this on purpose."
And I love
Oh.
that Kirk was like, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm so sorry. This hurt in more ways than one. I'm so sorry.
And so then, now that Spock's figured it out, he puts back on his uniform instead of the green, jumpsuit that he got at the.
They've
the
all got these
IFA.
matching green jumpsuits.
His IFA working
Boiler
on the
suit.
farm
Yeah.
outfit. Yeah. And they realize that they have to find a way to irritate the people on the planet so that they all get angry. And how do you do that? Well, of course, it's a show. The frequency, they send out a frequency that's irritating, and it'll and so then you see everybody on on the planet fighting. I just love that, because then McCoy, the real McCoy, comes back, and he's, I hate everything. He was one of the first. Yeah.
And that's the other thing about this episode too, is the spores heal you. They heal you in such a way that, like, people don't have health issues anymore. Long ago, health issues and removals, like McCoy had his tonsils removed, and they were miraculously back. And a benefit to the spores, but having come out of whatever trance that puts you in, is you get to keep your healthy body.
Yeah, it'll start to age once you leave the planet, but
hey, you got tonsils again.
You got tonsils again. All that liver damage from all that booze, McCoy. It's all taken care of. That's why he's able to live so long.
And Spock ends this episode with a line that is so brutal by human standards, but by Vulcan standards makes sense. He says, "It was the first time I ever felt happy." And as a human, brutal, absolutely devastating. But looking at it from the perspective of a Vulcan who has no emotions, like, wow, how interesting.
It was fascinating. I was happy.
I also like that I can't remember which episode it is established in, but Spock has levels of if something is interesting versus fascinating. Like, something is fascinating if it's like something new and wild and he's never experienced it before, but something is interesting if it's like mildly interesting.
I wouldn't say fascinating. I would say interesting.
Yeah, so this Little House on the Prairie episode, I
thought you'd like
fun.
it.
It was fine.
I thought you'd like it because sassy Spock, but
I do like a sassy Spock, but I also was so put off by emotional lovey-dovey Spock that I was like, ew, which takes us to episode 25, The Devil in the Dark. The Enterprise is sent to a mining colony that is being terrorized by a mysterious monster, only to find the situation is not that simple. This one is the horror movie episode.
Yes.
Which starts out very much like a horror movie, and I love to see it.
There's a monster down there,
And this is another extremely timely episode, because they are running out of oxygen. much like the Titan was presumed to be.
This is the problem that people have with this episode, is that if you can just get past the bad monster costume, which is it's a cheese pizza carpet. That they throw over a person, and that person has to crawl around on the ground and everything. If you can get past that, don't think about the fact that it's a guy under a carpet.
Yeah.
It's a good episode if you don't think about it. If you're focused on that, you're not going to enjoy the episode, because it's got some great twists and turns and some,
This whole episode was written specifically around this costume. Janos Prohaska, the creator of the Horta costume, actually wore it into Gene L. Kuhn's office as if to say, "Look what I designed." Kuhn said, "That's great. What is it?" And he said, "I don't know. It can be whatever you want." And Kuhn said, "I will write a script around it." And he wrote this episode in 4 days so that the costume could be used.
Wow.
Crazy. Absolute crazy
I didn't
stuff.
know that. That's great.
Well, now you know. This is also, the real moral of this episode is, we were the monsters the whole time. I can't remember the exact situation that they're in, but they're running out of oxygen, so they can either die by asphyxiation or they can die by radiation poisoning. And so Scotty is working on fixing this, and Kirk says this line that I just absolutely love. Scotty, ride herd on it. Kind words, tender, loving care. Kiss it, baby it, flatter it if you have to, but keep it going.
Well, because this is when they realized that the creature is intelligent, because it sabotaged exactly the thing that they needed to stop the radiation from the leaking. It knew exactly what to do, and they figured that out. But then later, of course, they communicate with it, where they shoot it. I'm a doctor, not a bricklayer. They shoot it with a phaser, do some damage to it, and then they scan the part that they have, and they figure out that it's mostly silicon. It's mostly, this, if anything, the Band-Aid would be, like cement or something is how we do it. And that's when he says, I'm a doctor, not a bricklayer. But that's when the creature communicates, where he writes into the rock with his heat finger.
No kill eye.
No kill eye, which there's a ska band that took their name. No Kill Eye, and they use that as their name.
Oh, I kind of love that. But this is also after Spock has mind melded with it to figure out what the deal is. And we learn that these balls that they are like collecting and destroying it's children, it's babies. And
the Horta's eggs, yes.
It's mad. And so, of course, it's going to go on a revenge spree.
It's like every 1,000 years or something like that, the entire species dies out except for one. And it is in charge of laying all the eggs to create a new race of these creatures. And that's why it's been killing the miners. Miners are down there trying to, get all the valuable stuff out of the ground. It's killing the miners because the miners were just destroying her eggs. And so,
just willy-nilly.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were the monsters the whole time. My notes specifically are, ew, what the F is that? And then making me feel bad for this thing. What's a Horta you? And, this is, we were the monsters the whole time.
Yes.
So Spock mind melds with this monster 3 times. And afterwards, when the whole story is wrapped up, Spock mentions that the Horta was really fascinated by his ears. And Kirk is like, did it have anything to say about me? And Spock's like, no. And Kirk is like butthurt that the monster didn't find him attractive.
I would have had sex with a Horta. I would have repopulated their species.
If only it found me attractive, but whatever.
But the Horta, it goes through stone like we walk through air. It just, it makes tunnels. And that's why at the end, when the eggs hatch, it says the little devils are just, digging all kinds, and we're finding all kinds of different, uranium and all kinds of valuable minerals, and we're finding it a lot faster thanks to their help. So everybody's happy.
Yeah, that's, again, I know I mentioned it previously, but that's what I love about Star Trek is all the episodes have a happy ending. Like, we got this figure. Everyone's going to walk away happy from this.
Yeah.
Kirk, I don't remember the exact line, but Kirk says something to Spock along the lines of, you're turning more and more human every day. And Spock goes, how dare you insult me in
Captain,
such a way?
I see no reason to stand here and be insulted. I'll just go back to work.
This episode also has a kind of a sweet note to it. William Shatner identified this as his favorite episode because his father died during filming, and Leonard Nimoy's delivery of the mind meld lines made him laugh. He thought it was exciting, thought-provoking, and intelligent. It contained all the ingredients that made up our very best Star Treks.
Well, and Nimoy's performances, he's channeling Shatner with the mind meld. He certainly
Pain!
Pain!
Murder!
Murderers!
Yeah, he does a very good job. Well, that does it for this episode of the Space Show. Thank you, Kerry, for joining me once again.
Happy to.
Next week, we're going to be discussing episodes 26 through 29, and we'll keep going where no man's gone before, but a lot of people have gone before. Okay, thanks, bye. Live long and prosper and stuff.
You did it. You did it.